unstoppable, killer tornadoes dropping from the dark skies over Texas and cutting a path of destruction through downtown Fort Worth. Those tornadoes ripped through the area, shattering windows in the high-rise buildings, overturning cars, and uprooting trees. A frightening scene tonight as people ran for cover. There is death and destruction this part of Texas.
These dramatic helicopter pictures show how skyscrapers downtown have their exterior glass literally peeled off, showering the street below with millions of pieces of broken glass. And in these shots, you can actually see close up the damage to the inside of the offices. The windows gone, the gale-force wind swirled around inside offices, tossing desks, chairs, flinging cabinets, and anything else around literally at will.
My name is John Roberts, and I'm an architect here in the city of Fort Worth. I've been practicing for over 30 years.
My name is Jeffrey Treadwell. I was working in the Neil P. building on the night of the tornado here in Fort Worth.
My name is David, and I lived in the historic electric building at 14 West 7th during the tornado in 2000.
My name is John Partitious, and I was in this building on Tuesday, March 28th, 2000, when a tornado touched down in Fort Worth.
I was downtown at an AIA meeting, that's the American Institute of Architects, and we had a meeting inside the Modern Art Museum at the Sundance Square, which was in the Sanger Lofts building, which is across the street diagonally from the Bank One Tower. We knew the weather was going to be bad that day, and we were looking outside and we noticed the debris, and then once we saw the debris flying through the window, we decided that we better go take cover, and the window where we were standing was the only window inside the Modern Art Museum that was blown out.
I watched it come up 7th Street, and I was in the 5th or the 7th floor of this building behind me. I can't remember the floor, but I watched the windows bow in about this much. When the sirens went off, I went back into the office, and they said we were on a lockdown, and we started going into the stairwells. I was the last person into the stairwell, and I saw 2x4s going horizontal in front of me. That's when I knew it was bad. And this was before it hit the bank building.
Our TV gave us a thunderstorm warning, and we were like, oh, it's Texas, not a big deal, we don't care, we're not watching. About 30 minutes later, we started hearing tornado warnings, and the sirens started going off. And
It touched down a couple blocks that way, a little bit north, went across the north side of, or the south side of West 7th, and all the way to downtown, first crashing through the Cash America building. And it was an awful experience.
And we all stepped outside to see what had happened, and we looked at the Bank One building and saw that it had been hit by the tornado.
we came back up into our apartment, watched the news, and they said that it is a tornado coming, and for everybody to take shelter, get in the bathroom, so on and so forth. But instead, we're 23, 24 years old, so we're, young and not very bright, so we decided to go watched it from the 18th floor, and we could see windows being sucked out of the building. We could see furniture being blown out of the building, glass breaking, debris flying there. We saw objects, desks, paper, all kinds of objects circulating through the air. You could see them moving, almost in a circular pattern. So, it's the first time I'd ever seen a tornado up close and personal. We watched for probably 5 minutes while the Bank One building behind us was getting destroyed.
Then we started to see the car kind of just lift up, but only on the side toward us. It would look like it was being pulled. So we went to look outside again, and the door ripped out of our hands, and everything felt like it was being vacuumed. We were on the suck side of the tornado, which is the bad side to be on. And I don't mean that it sucked. I mean that it was sucking air. So we went back inside and decided we needed to find some place to shelter. The wind was being sucked from back this way through this way, and the building felt like it was going to implode, and the front door was being ripped off. And we stayed in that hallway, and for what seemed like, I don't know, a couple of minutes, may have been 30 seconds, may have been 5 minutes, I don't know, but it seemed, we couldn't really tell how long it was. It was a long time. With that type of terror and noise around, it felt like a long time. And
after the sirens went off, I ended up leaving work and going to check on my father's property, which was down on 7th Street. He owned the building, the Color Wheel building, which was the first building hit by the tornado, and subsequently he owned the barber shop and the rec room, and they were the next building that was hit by the tornado.
We were really concerned about what had happened, and I was lucky that I had parked my vehicle inside a garage and it was not damaged. Several other people had their vehicles totaled from the tornado, but I was very lucky. And we decided the best thing to do for us was to head out and head home as quickly as we could and get out of the ground zero area. And it was very fortunate that we did, because they closed down downtown not too long after that, and several people were actually held in the convention center for about 6 to 8 hours after the tornado. So I was lucky that I had a chance to get home.
We came back out, and we decided to go outside and look around, and there was not much damage here. We drove towards Cash America. We knew some people that worked there, and the Cash America parking lot had cars in piles. I mean, 2 or 3 cars deep. And we were very concerned about the people we knew that worked there. We thought maybe we had lost them.
After the storm passed, all the wind had died down, we went downstairs, got a couple of water bottles and a backpack, and we decided to go check to make sure our friends were safe, because a lot of our friends work downtown. We were in the service industry at the point, so we wanted to check on our fellow teammates and make sure that our restaurant employees were safe. So we took our backpack and we journeyed down here toward the Fort Worth Public Library, which there was some debris on the streets, so we were thinking that maybe this wasn't a tornado, but actually just a really bad storm. When we got to 3rd Street in front of the library, is when we really started to begin to understand how bad the devastation was.
It was a wild, wild night. When I left the Neil P., I went down Lancaster because 7th Street couldn't get down it. And when I was at the 6 Points intersection, the light came crashing down onto the top of my car. And so I went to where the barber shop was. That was where they had roped it off. And as soon as I saw the policeman, I told him that I owned the building, and he lifted up the yellow tape and he says, "Follow me." He proceeded to tell me that this building had collapsed on one of the barbers. I believe his name was Mike, and he showed me the hole that they had pulled him out of, which was literally that big. To this day, Mike still has back problems.
All the cars, the roofs of the cars were busted in from the glass falling from the buildings and hitting them. All the windows in the shadow, all the cars were shattered. Just you couldn't grasp how bad the destruction was downtown at that time. After we got to Razoo's and checked out to make sure all of our friends were okay, customers were okay, we walked down Main Street south. And at that point, you could see the Petroleum Club, you could see all the other buildings where the glass was still falling and hitting cars. people were running as fast as they could down the street to get away from the buildings because it was so dangerous.
And we took a detour north onto a side street, and we went right up to that candy factory that basically was blown apart. And we arrived just as people began exiting that building. They said they didn't think anybody was hurt inside, but there were some people trapped. And we asked if we could help, and they said, no, we need equipment. And we told them if we saw first responders, we would point them that way.
So it was an interesting night. My father did rebuild the barbershop, and the rec room was actually open, I think, 2 days later. If not that night.
And we came back here, we drove back here, huddled up for a little bit, and decided that we should probably go home and get out of the way of anybody that was going to come down here and you know, the first responders that were going to come down and deal with the situation.
After the patrolling club, we decided that we needed to get off the streets for safety, and at that point, other police cars started coming downtown, other vehicles started getting downtown, the Sundance police started coming out. They started trying to get people off the streets, in the buildings, to their cars, and get out of the downtown because they're worried about everybody's personal safety and everybody's livelihood. You know, at that point, so we've retraced our steps to stay away from all the high buildings.
But it was a interesting time. A lot of unity in Fort Worth, a lot of destruction.
But overall, it was a really scary experience living through a tornado in a downtown area. It's not something that I've never even heard of anybody talking about, more or less living through it, being in it, seeing it, especially witnessing it from an 18-story building that's 2 blocks away from the most destroyed building that was in downtown Fort Worth.
I don't relish the thought that we, might ever have one. I've always told people I'll take a earthquake over a hailstorm or a tornado any day after what I've lived through.
It was a frightening experience. I thought I wanted to see a tornado my whole life to that point. I said, it'd be cool to see a tornado. I didn't actually see much of it, but I was close by a tornado, and it wasn't a very strong one, and I don't ever want to see another one or be close to another one again. That was enough for me.
It's been a difficult ride, remembering those memories, because they do haunt you at times. But we all survived it, thank goodness.